Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel and to another list building video. Basically the second one I've done for Bulge British, but last time I did it 120 points. So we'll be getting rid of that video and doing one now at 100 to keep it in line with all the other videos I've done. So Bulge British is a great book. Basically everything I felt was missing from the D-Day British we have in this book, and we have some better tanks, and a lot more command cards. So we'll go over all the lists you can make from the book. We'll have a little look at the formation build command cards, and we'll have a little look at the units as we go along. Any units that we saw in D-Day British we'll just skim over as quickly as possible because we've already seen them in the last video, but we'll be starting off with probably a very good formation to start with, and that is the Comet armoured squadron. Okay, so the Comet's fairly hefty on the cost points, but we will see why. So we've got plenty of Comets though in the formation. Unfortunately, we haven't got room for our infantry, but we still have our recce and our artillery, so that will be enough. So we have 2 Comets in the HQ, and then we have 2 units of 3 and a unit of 4. So basically the 2 units of 3, they can sit nicely in reserve if need be. And we also have a Dingo Recce Patrol, which is new. Sexton Field Troop is its own unit now, it's not a command card. And we also have an OP to spot for it, and we have a very nice command card for 2 points, Reg Titch Snowling, which we'll have a look at as well. Okay, so the Comet really does have it all. So it's careful, confident with a 3+ remount, and it's trained. It's front 7, so basically already better than your Cromwell tank. Side 5, top 1. It's fast, tactical 12, terrain 14, cross country 24, 3+ cross. But then look at the gun, it's got an anti-tank 14 gun in it, chaps. So you will see that the 17 pounders in Bulge British are slightly different to the D-Day ones, but this is a 77mm, it's just like a shortened 17 pounder. It also has HE and has smoke rounds, and it has 4 shots with SMGs. As I said, they do come at a bit of a cost. 3 Comets will set you back 21 points, and 4 will be 28. And now we have the Dingo Recce Patrol, basically 3 little Dingo MG scout cars as a spearhead scout unit for 1 point. Absolute steal to get your spearhead in there. 1 point, probably the cheapest Recce Patrol in the game, because everything else is probably coming in about 2 or 3 points. But once it's down on the table and done your spearhead, it's not going to do much more other than harass infantry here and there. It's careful, confident, trained, and also has a reduced stats because it's a scout unit. 3 shots each, so basically the same as universal carriers, but 1 point cheaper. But so I quite like it. Okay, and now we have the Reg Titch Snowling card for 2 points. So discard this card to reroll up to 2 misses and up to 2 failed firepower tests for this unit by 17 pounder guns on Firefly tanks or 77mm guns on a Comet tank. That is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Especially, you can imagine that coming out of an ambush unit and you've missed 2, and then just re-rolling 2, and then 2 firepowers as well. So I think that is a very good steal for 2 points, that command card. Okay, next formation we have the Black Bull Motor Company. So slightly different now, these guys, because now we can have 50 cals on the half tracks, and it's not a command card anymore for the half tracks. The half tracks you can equip them from the formation themselves. And again we have our UCs, our Wasps, and our 3-inch mortars in the formation. And again, because they're motor, you can only have 4 teams. Backing them up we have Comet and Hussar Challenger Armoured Troop. A glider pilot flight, just so we have a bigger unit and better stats as well to back them up. And we have 4.2-inch mortars, which I think are a very good artillery option for 9 points. And we get to use them because we are able to have mortars in our formation. Okay, so the motor platoon infantry stats basically the same as they were in D-Day. Careful, confident, trained with a 3+ counterattack, and again still war weary and deadly assault in the 3+. But now we have the M5 half track to back them up, so they can be mounted up in them, and also then you can have 50 cals for the half tracks as well. So careful, reluctant, counterattack 6, trained for the half tracks. But basically, without half tracks, with 4 teams is 6 points, so it's +1 point for half tracks, and then it's +1 point each if you want them to have a 50 caliber. It does help whittle down infantry, as it is a 5+ firepower as well. There is a command card that you can equip with these for +1 point per unit, giving them a last stand of 3+, and that is Guards Armoured Division. Bear in mind this can also be equipped to the Guards Sherman and the Cromwell Armoured Squadron and a Kangaroo Rifle Company. Might want to bear this in mind for this formation, considering your infantry units are quite small. Okay, so now we have the Hussar Cromwell Armoured Squadron. So this is a mixture of Cromwells and Challengers. Love the Challenger, something fast to keep up with the Cromwells. So we have 2 Cromwells in the HQ. We then have a unit of 4 Cromwells in one troop, and then we have 2 units of 4 Challengers, which I think is a very good tank. And then we see our Dingo Recce Patrol again. Again, we have our Sextons and our Sherman OP, but no room for infantry, sadly. Okay, so the Cromwell, the same stats, like armor-wise and movement and weapon as we saw in D-Day, but last time it was either Scout or Desert Rats. So now these just regular tank units, so they're careful, confident, trained with a 3+ remount. Front 6, side 4, top 1, so same front armor as a Sherman, but the main thing with these guys is they're fast. And coming alongside him, we have the Challenger. So I like this a lot. So it's careful, confident, 3+ remount, and trained. So following the same as the Cromwells. Front 6, side 4, because there's a stupid box on top of it, and top 1. Now it's still fast, like the Cromwell, but it is slightly slower on the cross country and road, and has a 4+ cross. Now that has been a pain for me in a few games. But the thing that you want it for is the Challenger 17-pounder. So obviously 36-inch range, but it's anti-tank 15 with a 3+ firepower. Of course, it hasn't got HE and slightly less MGs because it's a big bloody gun in the turret. But anti-tank 15, now not bad at all. Okay, so the Guards Churchill Armoured Squadron, not really much has changed since the D-Day book, apart from it's called the Guards Churchill Armoured Squadron. The Recce unit may be different, but what you can take is more or less the same. The biggest difference is what you can see is there's a Panther now, but we support in this formation, we have some Sextons and OP, and we got the M10 Lates to deal with heavy armor, because these guys are not going to do it, and the Panther alone is not going to do it on its own. But we don't have infantry, but hopefully the Churchill will be more than enough to do that. Okay, so the Churchill stats have stayed the same from D-Day, and we can have one of them as a late or one of them as a 6-pounder. We do have another command card for them, so basically this is the 6 Guards Tank Brigade. So tank units in this formation are unflappable with a following rating of +1 point per unit. They become fearless on a 3+. So not really getting overly much for that, since you're already counter-attacking and remounting on a 3+, but I suppose it does help you with your last stand, and these are quite expensive units, so you don't want to lose them. And it's only +1 point more, so it's your call. Okay, so the only thing that makes this formation new is the Panther Cuckoo tank. So it's careful, confident, trained, front 9, that's sad. It would be nice if it was the front 10 ones, side 5, top 1. And it's a Panther, guys, but it's 11 points. But something fun, I suppose, to take along as the British, although you'll have to purchase 1 Panther if you haven't got any German tanks and paint it your British colours. But there you go, a Panther tank for the British. Okay, so now we have the Cromwell Armoured Squadron. So if you have your Hussars, but you don't want your Challengers and Cromwells being separate, now you have the option to have them together. So this basically represents the 11th Armoured Division, but also you can have, instead of Challengers, Shermans to represent the Desert Rats. So it's up to you what you want. But I've gone for the Challengers just because I want something to keep up with the Cromwells. So we have 2 Cromwells in the HQ. Bear in mind you can have the close support options, which you can in most of the British tank formations. And then we have a unit of Cromwells with 3 Cromwells and 1 Challenger. We have a unit of Chaffies, so the British do have Chaffies now, so we'll have a look at that. And then we also have 2 more units, so one of them has 2 Challengers, one has 1. We have a unit of Sextons, so again, no infantry, but we do have some recce. And you can see the idea would be is to have the units of 1 Challenger being in reserve if you need them to be there. Oh, and also there's a command card for these guys. So as I mentioned, the Guards Division and Flappable can be used for this formation, which would be making them the Welsh Guards, which is quite nice to have along. Okay, so we've already, these stats are the same as the Cromwells and Challengers we saw just a few moments ago, but yes, remember they're in their same unit now, and just remember if you don't quite like the Challenger, you can use a Sherman, which will make the unit cost slightly cheaper. So just to put it here, so 2 Cromwells, 2 Challengers is 24 points, and 2 Cromwells and 2 Fireflies is 23 points. And don't worry about the Sherman Firefly, we will look at it later, but it is 80-15 like the Challenger, so you're not losing out on any anti-tank. It's just slightly slower. Okay, so now we have the Chaffee. I love the Chaffee tank, it's great. Something fast, slightly armoured, but with a bit of punch to it. It's just basically just that bit better than the Stuart tank. So it's careful, reluctant, unfortunately, because it is a scout. It does have scout spearhead. As a 3+ remount though, it is trained and has a scout assault. As you can see, it's fast with a good cross check and an anti-tank 10 gun. The only problem with it is you can only take a unit of 3 and for 10 points. So a little bit more expensive than your Stuarts, but you should be able to do a little bit more than your Stuarts. Okay, so now we into another infantry formation, the Kangaroo Rifle Company. So basically, these are rifle platoons with ram kangaroos, so more what the Canadians were using, but you can take them without the kangaroo transports, and there's quite a few command cards for these formations. So what do we have? We have 2 platoons of mounted up infantry. The HQ's mounted up as well. We have some wasps, which are flamethrower universal carriers, some universal carriers of course. One of the 2 units, and one of them has a Piat. We have Sextons, a Sherman OP, and then Comets and Challengers. And these guys are Canadian infantry, because Canadians are the best. And we have some 4.2-inch mortars as well. So here we have the cards. So British infantry, the stats are the same as the motor platoon in terms of motivation and hit on, and the only other difference is they have 1 less halted and 1 less moving shot, because these are brown gun rifle teams and the motor are brown gun teams. But the main thing these guys have is the ram kangaroo tank. So it's careful, reluctant, with a 6 counterattack, trained, and transport assault on the 6. It does have close assault, so you guys can jump out in the assault phase, which is nice. It's front 6, so it should be fairly safe, protecting your troops, which you need to. If you don't upgrade them, they are reluctant, remember. And it has 3 MGs as well, so you will only have 3 of them, but that is an extra 9 shots, hopefully to pin down some infantry platoons. Okay, so the Relentless card for the Canadian division, so it's actually +1 point per kangaroo rifle platoon. It used to be 2 in the D-Day book, because it is slightly different. So they are fearless, which is nice for counter-attacking, rallying, but their last stand is a 5+. Now that's, I think, why it's a bit cheaper. But we do have other command cards. So we have the Wessex Wyverns, 43rd Division. So basically, it's 1 point, and you basically have an automatic rally, but you do it before you roll anything. So that's nice. That represents obviously the Wessex Division. We have the 51st Highland Division, bagpipes, so 2 points, and anything within 6 inches of the formation commander, they get a 4+ rally. 3rd Division, Monty's Ironside, so we saw that in the D-Day book, so +1 point. They basically have a 3+ counterattack, but a 4+ motivation, so not bad. So the 15th Scottish Division tank training, So units in this formation may reroll failed attempts to rally from pin down as long as their unit leader is within 4 inches of a Churchill tank team that is not bailed out. We have the 49th West Riding Division Polar Bears, so -1 point for this one because they're confident with a last stand of 5+. But that means they rally a bit better. And then we have the 50th Northumbrian Division, the Tyne Tees, so -1 point per rifle platoon. They become reluctant 5+ and a 4+ counterattack. And then we have the 52nd Mountaineer Division, so basically they just cross checks better. And then the best, the Cymru Ambith, so +1 point per unit. They're fearless with a 5+ rally, trained with 3+ assault and a 3+ dig in. So not bad at all, but that rally is still a problem. Okay, so a Sherman, Guards Sherman armoured squadron. Unfortunately, no room for infantry or artillery, but we do technically have some artillery, which I will show you. So a lot of Shermans here. So we have 3 Shermans in the HQ. We then have 2 units of 3 Shermans of 1 Firefly, and they have Tulip rockets as well. And then we have 2 units with 2 Shermans and 2 Fireflies, and they also have Tulips. And then, of course, we need to have some Spearhead in there. So we have a Daimler and Dingo scout car troop. Okay, so the Sherman itself has not changed, other than you can see the optional weapon, the Sherman Tulip, which we'll talk about in a second. But the Guards Sherman Firefly has changed because it has AT-15 now. So the Tulip is an artillery weapon with basically equipped to the tanks in these units. So 20-inch range, anti-tank 1, so not going to be much use against tanks. 2+ firepower though. It is 1 use, but we do have it on 4 units, so there's 4 attempts to do something. And it has a saturation bombardment rule. So basically, with a saturation bombardment, each Tulip counts as 2 weapons firing. So in our units of 4, they're technically units of 8, which means you get to reroll our hits, our misses we get to reroll, which is good. So there are 3 command cards that can affect the Guard Shermans in terms of formations. We have the Guards, which makes them unflappable on the 3+ last stand. We have the Canadians, which for +1 point per unit gives them a remount on the 3+. Less likely to take these now since the Fireflies already have a 3+ remount, and we can have 2 in a unit. But we also have the Polish 1st Armoured Division Black Devils. So basically we're able to have the 75mm Shermans change into 76mm Shermans with a front armour of 7. And the best thing is their motivation is on a 3+, but it does come at a hefty cost. Okay, so now we have some paratroopers. We have the Frost's Parachute Company, actually using them as Polish, but we will have a look at the stats for the British and then see what is different about the Polish. So we have 3 platoons of Frost Parachute platoons. You don't have to have Frost Parachute platoons. You can have glider troops or engineers, but there's a reason I've got Frost Paras. We have a 3-inch mortar. You can only have 3 of them. We also have 4 75mm light howitzers, and yes, finally we have airborne jeeps. And then backing them up, we have some Comets and some Challengers, and they had 2 points spare, so I just chucked some Daimlers in there because I like Daimlers, and I feel it might be useful. But we have 2 points we can spend on command cards if you don't want them. Okay, so Frost Paras, stat-wise, all the same to the regular parachute platoons that we've seen in the D-Day British. The only difference is now is they have a 2+ last stand. They're still only trained though, which is annoying, but they do have a deadly assault on a 3+, as do all most British units. But my absolute favourite from this formation is the Jeep, Airborne Recce Troop. I just love it. So Scout Spearhead, careful, fearless, and a last stand on a 4+. It's a veteran 3+, but it does have a 4+ save. Decent amount of fire as well with 3 shots, but it is forward firing, remember. You can have a unit of 8 of them if you wanted to. You do have to buy 2 packs of them then, but 8 of them will set you back 6 points, 4, 3, and 2 for 2 points. But remember, because they're unarmoured, teams cannot charge into contact and must break off if assaulted. So don't think you're going to be assaulting anything with that 3+ skill. Okay, and this is the command card I used, the Polish 1st Parachute Brigade, Black Berets, so no points to change these guys. Now, I think it's a steal for no points. So basically, all it does is change that 2+ last stand to a 2+ counterattack, which I think is way more worth it. Now, you'll be cursing yourself when you have a last stand and you roll a 3 instead of a 2, but at that point, your unit is pretty much out of the game. But being able to counterattack on a 2+ is, come on, you need that in the game. But yeah, I just roll a 1 if that happens, so maybe I do need a lucky card in this list. And furthermore, it is the reason why I took Frost Parachute platoons and not engineers or gliders in the formation, because this only affects them. Okay, so now basically a non-historic formation, the Ram Armoured Squadron. But to be honest, I don't feel bad about using it. They look funky little tanks, and if you have a soft spot for the Ram Armoured Troop, then why not use it? I haven't got any because I used mine all as the transport versions instead. But we have they are very cheap. But I think I prefer Shermans, and I'll tell you why when we have a look at the unit card. So we have a HQ of 3 Rams, and then we have 2 units of 3. We have a 5/5 late armor troop, so 3 of them all come in their own unit, like the DD formations from the D-Day book, and we have some 3 Stuarts as well. No infantry again, unfortunately, in this list, but we do have some Sextons, we have some Daimlers, and we have some M10s just to add a little bit more anti-tank 15 to the list. Okay, so the Ram Armoured Squadron, there are some appealing stuff to it. So it is careful, confident, with a 2+ remount, which is always nice, and it's trained like most British tanks are. Front 6, side 5, top 1. Movement-wise is more or less the same as a Sherman, but it has a 6-pounder gun. So +1 better than a Sherman gun, but the firepower is on the 4+. Overall, though, you can only have a unit of 3. Now, I prefer units of 4 tanks if I can, but it's only 12 points, so they are pretty cheap tanks. Okay, so next and last of the formations out the book, the Glider Pilot Squadron. So, very odd formation. Is very good infantry, but that's really all you're going to be able to take in the formation. The biggest gripe I have about this book is both these and Frost Paras don't have night attack, which I find strange. Is it an omission or is it done deliberate? I don't know. We have had a lesson from the front since this book came out and it hasn't been changed, so I guess we can't, but I feel like we should be able to. Good thing about the glider pilot flight is they can be massive platoons of 9 teams, and they can also have 2 Piats, which is good, and they can also have a 2-inch mortar if you wanted to. So we have the HQ of 2 teams, then we have 2 units of 9 with 2 Piats, and then a unit of 5 with 2 more Piats and a 2-inch mortar. And backing them up, we have some Sextons, we have our scout unit for the Daimlers, and then we have 3 Comets and 3 Challengers to sit in reserve if we have to, but also to back up with some nice anti-tank 15 and anti-tank 14, respectively. Okay, so the glider pilot flight. So they're careful, fearless veteran. Now, the veteran is a big deal because that means they can actually dig in on the objective if they take it. So they also have MRC body armor, which we'll discuss later. And again, stat-wise, movement and weapons are the same as your regular infantry. So the MRC body armor. Now, this is quite good, and you also can pay in a command card to upgrade it to your other power units if you wanted to. So basically, roll a die when a team fails a save for a hit from an artillery bombardment after rerolls. On a 5+, they're unharmed, so basically it gives you a 5+ feel no pain, which is not bad, but would be better if they could night attack. Okay, so we're into command card territory now. So the breaching group, it is the same as it was in the D-Day book, but because Lessons of the Front changed things to saying you can't use command cards from other books, they've included it in this book, so you can use it if you wanted to. The armoured car squadron, again, is sort of similar to the last one, apart from you can have staghounds now, which is slightly better than your Daimlers. And I suppose as well, the Black Bull motor platoon can have half tracks for 50 cals, also making this different. Which is the same as what you could say for the Recce Squadron. The only difference being is the Black Bull motor platoon. Otherwise, it's the same as the D-Day one. Okay, so another one is the Inns of Court Regiment, the Devil's Own. It's definitely something I want to use. I will have to proxy the units, but basically, you can have your Staghounds for your HQ. You have your Daimler unit, your Dingoes, and you have your Matador armored car, which is basically armored cars that fire a template weapon. A template weapon, which is nice. And you have your Black Bull motor platoon. The only problem with all these armoured car things is you can't really upgrade the infantry, so they are going to be reluctant, so you'll want something else to come along with them that is more likely to unpin and do something. Okay, so we have our Airborne Royal Engineers cards, so you can take your Royal Engineer Airborne units in your para units, but why not field them all together? So not bad unit, they are quite handy. So you have your company HQ, 2 to 3 units of Parachute Royal Engineer troops, and you can have 1 glider pilot flight as well. So not a bad formation at all. And the other one, the last one, we have the Airborne Recce Squadron. So if you do really like your Recce Jeeps, then why not have a unit and why not have a formation of them? So you can have 2 for your HQ for +2 for 2 points, and then 2 to 4 units. So remember, you can have units of 8 Jeeps. Now that's a lot of Jeeps. That's not going to be assaulting or counter-attacking, and then you can have a unit of mortars as well. But I don't think we'll see this, but it would be hilarious to see it. Yeah, that's the command cards. Okay, so the Sexton is the same as it was in the D-Day book, apart from it has its own unit card now, and it's pretty much a steal over the other artillery units because it's 12 points now. It's 2 points cheaper than it was in the D-Day book. Now, why the hell you would use 25 pounders now? Because they're still 14 points, which is a shame. But there you go, the Sexton field troop. So this is the M10 late. So it's the same as it was in D-Day, apart from it has an anti-tank 15 gun now. Can't have the option of AT-14. It's either the 3-inch or the late 17 pounder. Does come at a cost though. So the old M10 17 pounders were 18 points. These ones are 22 points. But that AT-15 will go through a lot of things. Bear in mind, Tiger ones are front armor 9. So even at long range, that's a 5 to equal. They're only saving on 6s. And the Panthers, which did get +1 point of armor, are basically the same situation because you've got AT-15 now, so +1 point. So something new, the Daimler Recce troop. Now you have seen the Daimlers before, but you can just have a unit of Daimlers now. So you can have a unit of 2 Daimlers and 2 Dingoes for 3 points, a unit of 4 Daimlers for 4 points, or a unit of 4 Dingoes for 2 points. But basically, a unit of 4 Daimlers at 4 points, they're more or less similar to the gun as a Stuart. Obviously, the armor's atrocious, but it is an option there for you. It is Scout and Spearhead. Just remember the gun is overworked, but there we go. And you can't have the Little John with this unit, but you can with the other Daimler armoured troop that you can use. Okay, so we have the Royal Engineer troop for the paras and the card you can equip to them as well. So they're careful, fearless with a 2+ last stand, fit in the frost paras, and they are trained with a deadly assault. So all these stats are the same, but they do have Pioneer. But there's something a bit odd about this Pioneer one, which I have a real gripe with. And bear in mind, they can have an additional Piat as well, so that is pretty good. So Pioneer teams cross minefields safely in the 2+. If they remain in the minefield and not pinned down, they may clear the minefield automatically next turn. It does not, however, mention them being able to dig in on a 2+, which would mean they dig in on a 4+, which is the same as all British infantry. Now, I think Pioneers could manage a shovel a little bit better than that. So if anyone from Battlefront is looking at this, please have that in lessons from the front, because I don't want my Royal Engineers digging in on a 4+, because I need them to dig in on a 2+. I'll even take a 3+ if I have to. But another good thing for these guys, the flamethrowers. So for 2 points, you add 2 flamethrower teams. Don't take away 2 teams, replace 2 teams, you add 2. Basically, you get 2 teams, they only have a 4-inch range, but they have 2 shots, and it's a flamethrower, guys. And you know I like flamethrowers, and it's quite handy to have. But I tend not to use the Royal Engineers, I tend to use the glider troops because they dig in better. And that's the only reason, really. Okay, right, so I know some people might like Jeeps, and you can have SAS Jeeps now, and there's a few command cards that go with this as well. So it's Careful, Fearless with a Last Stand on a 4+, and Veteran 3+. So remember, it doesn't matter for assaults because you can't be doing anything there. Now, so you can have 3 different weapons. So you can have your regular MGs so 4 shots each, 50 cal, so 3 shots, halted to move in, anti-tank 4 with a 5+ firepower. And remember, it's self-defense AA, or you can have the SAS Jeep AAMG. So it's 1 shot each with anti-tank 2 and a self-defense AA. So basically, you can only have a unit of 3 for 3 points. You can add the AAMGs to all the Jeeps for +1 point. So may I remind you, going up to 5 shots with that. And then you can replace 1 SAS Jeep MG with an SAS Jeep 50 cal for +1 points. So there you go. So the unit can cost 6 points if you were to equip all the bells and whistles. Okay, so if you see this unit card pop up again randomly, something went wrong with the editing. So the Archer, a little weird anti-tank troop. So it's Careful, Confident, Trained, and it's a self-propelled gun, so it's a bit weird. So front 2, side 2, top 0. It's basically a 17-pounder on a Valentine chassis. So it can't shoot while moving, which is annoying. So this is basically an ambush unit. There's 2 shots with an anti-tank 15 gun and 3+ firepower, but no MGs. But it will be 4 of them for 18 points. And it's rear firing because it's basically mounted the wrong way around, which is the only way they can do it. Okay, and then we have the land mattress rocket troop. So it's new. I don't think I'll ever have it, but it is interesting. So it's Careful, Fearless, Veteran with a 4+ gun save because it's a bit of a bigger gun. So basically, it's your salvo template for the British, and it has saturation bombardment as well. So a unit of 2 is 8 points, a unit of 4 is 16 points. So it's slightly steep on points wise, but a unit of 2 should do you okay because of the saturation bombardment. Each land mattress rocket launcher counts as 2, so technically it'll be 4. So technically an artillery unit like this for 8 points, but salvo I find tends to get in the way, and it can't fire smoke either. But if you have a unit of 4 and you're prepared to pay 16 points, you get to reroll your misses. And that is it for what I'm going to be showing you from the British Bulge book. I'd say my favourite of the British books, because you get some good formations here. Still a bit weird about the night attack rules with the British airborne units and digging in for the engineers, but I'm sure that will get sorted at some point. But overall, good tanks, better anti-tank, with the 15, and some very good command cards, which add a lot of flavour to the book. So I hope you enjoyed that. And now finally, we're going over to the last of the factions that we'll be covering with the Soviets, which if you've these all videos already done, you can go and click on. Otherwise, if you're watching straight after this video is coming out, it will be out next week.